Hey everybody, Adam Savage at Global Effects with Chris Gilman. How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Now, your main business, your main thing is spacesuits, and you rent them, you make them, you build them, you design them, and these are one of my primary obsessions. But one of my other obsessions is armor, and holy hell, you are also an armor collector, maker, commissioner, and you have a tremendous collection. Can we take a tour?
We can. And interestingly, this is what started the rental department.
Really?
Yeah. So
it all begins with armor.
It does, because that was my hobby, was arms and armor. So I thought I'd pull out. It's part of our other rental department.
Yeah.
And as I said in the earlier video, people come in and I say, "Are you doing a medieval picture or a mid-evil picture?" Right. So what I've tried to pick is the medieval stuff. I've tried
really
to pick
correct,
the authentic.
period authentic.
Yeah. So we'll start here. We have a gladiatorial helmet.
This is beautiful.
And if I don't really know a lot about early Roman, early stuff,
right.
And so I don't remember the name of this helmet. Your viewers, of course, will probably know. This was done by a very talented armorer named Ugo Serrano. Ugo's done some really fantastic stuff. And he's normally doing a little more fantasy, a little more authentic looking, but with a twist.
Yeah.
And so he did this gladiatory helmet, and it's all in aluminum. It's really quite nice.
I think I just caught one. Wow. I love his little catches too.
All opens and
wow. Yeah. Oh, that's gorgeous.
But all single pieces of aluminum. So, gladiatorial helmet. This is a fiberglass helmet that's been metallized.
Oh wow.
But this is a Roman cavalry helm, and there are a number of examples they found with these very realistic faces.
Crazy.
And they fit incredibly close. And when your eyes are in here, they're really creepy.
Yeah.
They're really creepy. And they would have been bright silver and gold, probably silvered, actual silver and actual gold. And when they put gold on in the early times, they used a process called mercury gilding.
Yeah, it's not fun for your health.
But it laid the gold on really thick, and so you get this super rich gold color that's really hard to get with electroplating, almost impossible to get with electroplating.
Wow.
So that's a Roman cavalry helm. Now, you probably recognize this. This is the Sutton Hoo helm. Now, this was a decorative helmet. Now, another thing to bring up about decorated armors.
Yeah.
The modern thought is, oh, they're parade armors. Oh, they're only for ceremony. Yeah. That's really mostly not true. Huh. Most of the decorated armors you find were made 100% real functional armors. Hardened steel,
ready for battle,
intended to use in tournament or in battle. So while this might have been, it probably was a real fighting helmet. And people go, well, I can't believe you take something so beautiful and cake it out in battle. The paint job on a Formula One car is unbelievably expensive.
Yeah, fair,
right?
fair.
Because you want to look good.
Yeah.
Right? So, now, the other interesting thing about these helmets is they were piles of fragments. Piles of fragments, little pieces of rusted that some guy sat down and tried to piece together what it looked like. Well, we're starting to find out that a lot of these things that were pieced together in the early 20th century, they weren't made by armorers. They weren't pieced together by armorers. And there's a lot of mistakes in them.
Oh, wow.
So some of the things that we think are iconic
might not be true at all.
Probably right. Now,
so this is like early dinosaurs being built with the wrong head on a different body.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Same thing. So this is an early style of decorated helmet with these hollow, thin sheet metal plates that are done on a press block. They're done on a bronze.
Oh, okay. I was wondering, they look chased, but they were done as stamps
pressed,
in a press block. Okay.
Now, this is a replica that one of the museum replica companies, I think, made. It is quite nice.
It's really nice.
Now, little known are the Vendel helmets, pre-Viking.
Okay.
And this is a Vendel.
Ah, that's
Now, this is one I made. And this is based on the Vendel 14, I think it is. And it had all of these pressed foils. Now, the real pressed foils would have been done on a bronze matrix, and they have found these plates that they would press the sheet in. People think they're solid, but if they were solid, this thing would weigh so much you wouldn't wear it.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is these are very, very similar to the Roman ridge helms, the helmet that is in this time period. Mm-hmm. And these are from about 600, pre-Viking. The Roman ridge helms have a ridge down the center and they're two hemispheres that have been joined.
Right.
So the theory is that since a lot of these guys were mercenaries for the Romans, when they came back, they copied what they knew.
Of course.
And they copied this. You want to try it on?
Oh, yeah. Oh, please. Oh. Now I feel like I kind of look like Pippin in the battle in the Return of the King. Oh! I think it's the glasses that don't help sell it, do they?
No. We have these decorated helmets pre-Viking.
Yeah.
Now come along a show, True Blood.
Yeah.
They have a flashback scene with Vikings, and they wanted a Viking crown. I have a research library of about 2,000 books on various historic, pre-Renaissance, pre-18th century, including a huge thing on Vikings. I went through everything, and I could not find one crown from the Viking era that didn't look like a Burger King crown, the paper one you get, right? So I said, how if we do Vendel? So this is Eric's crown that we did for True
and it's
Blood.
Copied off of this.
And you'll see that it's a copy.
Oh, that's beautiful. It also feels a little like the crown of Bethmora from Hellboy 2. Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Wow. Oh, man.
So it's just fun to have a historic thing to be able to put out there. Okay, so now we get into Rus Viking. So the Vikings, people, during that age, they didn't go, oh, we're Vikings.
Right,
that was something we applied later. So there were, during that period, there were Vikings all through Northern Europe, Russia. They found graffiti in Italy from Vikings, and the Vikings made it as far south as Vietnam in their explorations.
That's insane.
So this is based on a Rus Viking, a Russian Viking. Now I made this again for myself.
Oh.
Hardened steel. They probably wouldn't have been using hardened steel at that time, but I was going to do some Polish reenactment, some actual combat fighting in Europe with this. And when a guy came back with a huge slice underneath his eye, and I saw the shields that were so destroyed, I go, I don't need to prove anything to anybody else. But a friend of mine wore this, and he ended up getting a dent in the back of it. The guy hit him in the back of the head with a Dane axe and dented the hardened steel helmet. He got really nailed.
Your friend's okay.
Yeah. So this is all worked brass, punch work based on it. So
this painted salad is so beautiful.
So this is known as kind of nicknamed one of the black salads. And what's interesting is you see how sort of crude and immature the shape is. It hasn't been refined. Well, pretty sure that when helmets are made, and you can find a video of Italian bucket makers using the same technique.
Okay.
What they'll do is there's two types of raising. Modern armor is often made with a raising technique where you're hammering from the outside. It's really more of a silversmithing technique, and it probably was not used as much with armor as it's used with silver, but modern people use that often to make armor.
Okay.
There's also squish raising, where you start with a plate, and if you can do this with a piece of clay. In fact, it's a great way to learn metal forming, is start off with a piece of clay and use your finger to poke at it
and
watch what it's
move.
doing. The bucket making that you can find the video of, they start off with a stack of plates. Now, the more mass you have, the more heat you get to keep, right? So you're going to heat these plates, and if you heated one, it would cool down quicker.
Right.
But if I heat a stack of 6 or 8 of them, it's going to hold heat longer. So you wire them together so they don't fall apart.
Yeah.
You put some flux in between, or some material between them so they don't stick.
Right, so they don't weld to each other.
You heat them up, and then with a trip hammer, you put them in a dish, and you squish the raisin into your shape. And what you're doing is you're making 8 helmets at one time.
Wow. You're doing the rough forming of 8 helmets at once.
So if you look, almost like vacuum forming, there's almost no undercuts on this helmet. Just a little bit here on the sides. So if I was to rough form, forget the visor, but if I was to rough form the skull, I could get to this point and then pry them apart and have a stack of helmets. And that's pretty sure how they made multiple helmets, multiple breastplates at the same time.
Talk to me about the paint. I love the fact, I believe I've understood that more helmets were painted in bright, garish colors than we realize.
Think of anything you're going to personalize. Put pins on your backpack or stickers on your car. Look at Vietnam, the number of helmets that had decorations that were markered or painted on, the nose art on aircraft, right? Humans are humans. They want to do these things. So if you have a helmet that's an inexpensive, rough from the hammer, already black, why not put a protectant coating on it, and why not make that coating interesting? And some of them, you were at the Wallace, there's a great helmet at the Wallace. It's got this demon with big fangs.
Oh, wow. I don't know if I've seen it. That's awesome.
It's beautiful. It's a sallet. It's a closed sallet with this beautiful painted. There's breastplates with scales painted on them with lions.
Is this a replica of a historical paint job?
Yes. Yeah. This is a replica. This is done by a guy in Eastern Europe. Really nice. I found it online and bought it. Got a beautiful
suspension
liner.
Oh,
yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. And it's and then the spring catch to open the visor.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Now we get to the end. Now this is a more fully developed sallet. Now there's a term sallet, bassinet, gorge.
Yeah.
Well, that's the French way of saying it, but the academic world sort of uses the English. So this would be a sallet, a gorget, or a bassinet.
Sorry, French people.
Yes. So you see how much more refined the shape is.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Yeah. And this is a pretty good shape one. This is probably to hold a little spring-loaded catch to put a plume on the top.
Right.
And again, suspension liner.
Oh, it's beautiful.
So I've gotten to the point now where most of the replica armor, I could probably come up with a list of maybe 100 guys that claim to make armor, and I would buy armor from maybe 6 of them. Only because it's that huge of a difference.
Yeah.
And it's not snobbery. It really is the technical, because armor is technical.
Yeah.
It's sculpture. It's being able to move the metal where it needs to go, not where you can get it to.
Right.
And there's so many. So we look at some of these armors behind us, and we start over there. That's probably 10th century scale. I made the first one I made out of aluminum scales. I made a punch and had the scales done, and then I dished them. I made a cast urethane dishing tool.
Oh, amazing!
2 pieces on a hinge. You put the scale in and whacked it with a hammer, and it dished them perfect. Right?
Beauty.
I laced up a sample. It looked like I'd raided a cafeteria of all their spoons. So I had to age them so they didn't.
Fair.
This is a piece I'm doing now with a sugar loaf with an under helmet. This is right about the time they would wear a helmet under this, because it was just when they started to have visors, but they would ditch this and have that helmet.
Right.
And you see, this also has a suspension liner. This is all hollow. This is all tooled.
Amazing.
And same thing, this is all hollow and tooled.
Yeah.
Then we have the Bashan, the one that's wrong. This is a pretty good one, though it's a little rusty. This is Italian armor with a great bassinet. And again, you're there for protection. You're not there on a sightseeing tour. So these helmets, well, yeah, you can't move your neck. Well, yeah, neither could Batman. Yeah. You know? But they gave you excellent protection.
Yeah.
And then you see these asymmetric counters. That was another thing when you talk about import or export armor. You could tell because each culture had a different style of fighting. Some on horseback, some on foot.
Right.
And so the type of armor you would wear would be different. And I never quite understood. I mean, how can you tell it's Italian export armor? Well, it had to do with the way it was configured so that you could remove pieces and change the style of fighting.
Fascinating.
Versus set up for a specific style of fighting.
The shape of this helmet is really beautiful.
I love the sculptural aspect of all of
this.
I really do.
Incredible.
This German Gothic.
German Gothic.
So Gothic armor, you get all of these flutes. Now, a lot of people want to put these in with a roller or a machine, but it's wrong because they all gradually build and then gradually fall away. Yeah. And that's brings the life to it, right? What's from the Black Sails? Fruit, tits. Where they can't make the difference between.
I haven't seen.
Oh, they're talking about 2 paintings, and one guy can't tell the difference between this master painting and this thing that looks like paint by numbers, right? So this has a really nicely developed sallet with a nice bever, with a nice little mechanical latch.
It's gorgeous. I love this kind of hollowed out
beautiful
steel work.
This again, Eastern Europe. And this is probably the second finest replica I have.
Oh, wow.
This was done by Rob McPherson. I got married in this armor.
Oh, man.
I'll show you a picture. The theme of our wedding was formal, any period. So any time period, and you could show up. So I was, of course, not without the helmet.
Dude, this is so beautiful.
So again, we get to style. We get to what was, like, you see where the waist is on this suit, and you see the shape of the breastplate, right? And we get to this one, the waist is a little different, and then we have the one behind you, which is German also, but a few years. This is about 1525, this is probably at 1560.
Yeah.
pointed here,
Yeah.
right? So it's all about style. Why did Cadillacs have fins? It made them more aerodynamic.
This
no,
is
it was
Cadillac
style.
fins. Wow.
It was style.
Yeah.
People think these flutes are there to make. Oh, it makes it stronger. No, it was style. It was because it's sculpture.
Yeah.
It's clothes. You walked out and went, look how awesome I look.
Amazing.
So this German is black and white. Now we talk about painted armor and color. Painted. Protects it.
Yeah, right. It stops it from rusting.
Now my knight in shining armor, right? That might have been more rare than we think.
Yeah.
A lot of these armors that have been preserved in museums wasn't really until you get to early to mid 1800s that armor was really looked at anything other than just old military gear.
Right.
There was a senator, not a senator, it was I think it was a member of House of Parliament who had one of Henry VIII's armor that he borrowed for a party. And he had it in his house. And when the armory asked for it back, he said, well, you get tons of armor, you don't need this one. And it was just treated as, it's just a thing, you know. Well, a lot of those armors, believe it or not, were cleaned with ground up brick dust
Oh my
and
God.
water. So when you see armor with heavy scratches in it,
Yeah. That's what that
that's
is.
probably what that is. Because the aggregate in the brick,
Yeah.
a piece of quartz in there.
Oh my gosh.
So we're starting to find more and more evidence of armor that was darkened, either chemically,
Yeah.
heat, or painted.
Incredible.
So it may be,
Yeah.
and the jury's still out on whether that's 100%.
Right.
But when you look at these paintings, you see a lot of paintings where they're all in black armor.
Yeah. See that?
And the swords are silver. So it isn't like they
Right,
didn't know
right,
the difference.
right.
Yeah.
All right. We got two more pieces here. huh?
Yeah. Okay. So save the best for last. So this is a real Morian. Now
Wow.
think of it as a conquistador helmet.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually postdates Cortez's return to Europe by like 60 years or 40
Okay.
years. I found this at a costume shop.
Really?
It was all painted, Krylon, spray paint. And I spotted it from across the room. And we were talking about your eye and recognizing.
Yeah.
When you look at armor long enough, you look at anything long enough, you're able to see the difference.
Is
That's
this
made out of a
raised-
single piece of
I
steel.
was just saying, this looks like it's raised from a single effing piece of steel.
And this particular one is Italian.
Dude, that's insane. I'm so glad you rescued this from a costume shop.
Yeah.
What a beautiful thing. That's crazy.
See the patches?
Yes, I do.
Now try to find them on the outside.
Could those have been from battle?
Yeah, they were probably back in the day. They
Right,
got
right.
fixed, yeah.
There we go. That's one that wasn't repaired. Dude, that's insane. So we have patches that you can see in here.
And they're riveted in.
They're riveted in, but everything's been concealed on the outside. This saw action.
Yeah. And it shows you the skill.
Yeah.
And this, so Ellis Mercantile. Ellis was a prop company around forever. And I did ice pirates there. I designed a bunch of weapons for ice pirates.
Ice pirates.
And I was going through the prop place, and Ellis has been around as one of the old, it was at one time the oldest prop house in LA.
Yeah.
And I found this 3/4 suit of armor, missing the helmet and no lower legs, no gauntlets. I'm looking at it, and I'm only like 20 something. And I asked the guy in charge, I said, hey, can I borrow this? I really want to look at this. And he goes, yeah, sure. It had Nuremberg armor stamps on it, city stamps. It was real armor.
Jeez.
And I was like, oh. Now, the armor guy in me said, there's no way a prop house is going to use this because they want a complete suit of armor for the
Right.
haunted mansion,
Yeah.
you know, in the corner.
Yeah.
And this has no helmet, no lower legs, and no gauntlets.
So it's less useful to them.
Absolutely. I should tell them I lost it, pay whatever they want, or say, look, I'll make you a whole armor in trade.
Right.
That's not how it was brought up. So I told them it was a real armor.
Yeah.
So it got put in a box. And then Ellis was bought, and the guys claimed they were going to redo Ellis, but no, they sold everything, they auctioned everything. Well, there were some really garbage armors made in India that people were paying ridiculous amounts of money for. And I am searching for this armor.
Yeah.
I can't find it.
Yeah.
And I'm so bummed because I could have had it and I couldn't find it. So then they have a shop auction. And as you know, with shop stuff, it's, you know, sometimes you get stuff in for repair or whatnot. So I bought a bunch of stuff, and including a bunch of the garbage armor because I had some pieces I might need to fill in.
Yeah.
And I load everything in, and we got another big truck loaded, and I get back to the shop, and the guy, so did you find anything good? You find anything good? I go, no, it was all garbage. And I reached in the back of my Suburban in a truck and pulled this thing out, and I went, yeah. Oh my God. I couldn't believe it. I actually found the arm. I didn't even know that it was in the box of garbage armor.
God.
And so this is the only thing that survives of that whole armor.
Oh, its weight is something
Yes, a little bit heavier than I would have expected.
Yeah.
But now I'm even more angry that I didn't take it because now it's been broken up. The pieces
Right,
who knows where the pieces are?
You know, I realized years ago that my love for spacesuits and my love for armor are based on the same thing, which is I'm constantly fascinated by human beings' ability to create our own hermit crab shells to explore the world.
Yeah.
You know, these are tools of warfare, but they're also tools of going to the edge of the known, right? So I really appreciate you showing me this, man. It's absolutely beautiful.
Well, you have to come back and try one of these on. And
I totally will.